Hi guys, it's Sophie. So this is my first Man Booker book review and I'm going to be talking about The Water Cure by Sophie Mackintosh. This is one of the Man Booker debut novels. There are a couple this year and I always find it interesting when debut authors make it onto the list and to see what that does for the author as well. I do follow Sophie Mackintosh on Twitter and she seems very sweet. I'm very excited about the whole thing and I really enjoy that aspect of seeing what it can do for a debut author. The novel itself follows three sisters who are called Grace, Leah and Skye, their mother and their father who is called King. And the book is told with sections where the three girls are speaking together as we, and sections told by each of the sisters individually. The mother doesn't speak, and neither does the father, directly to the audience, though they're obviously interacting with the girls within the story. To begin with, I think I found this approach quite confusing. Whilst the titles are named with the sister, I didn't feel that the sisters' voices were different enough that whilst I was reading it, I really knew which sister I was in and found myself using their age as a way to kind of differentiate between them. By about halfway through the book, I think I could naturally pick up and know which voice I was in, but I did find that was quite difficult and did actually put me off getting into the book properly to begin with. I read it very quickly. I read it pretty much in 24 hours, in a 24-hour period. But I don't know that reading it slower would have even helped. I think actually if it's confusing when you're reading it that fast, when you're reading it continually, if you put it down and pick it up again, you might struggle with it through the whole book. And the kind of story that these girls are in, this family is in, is broadly a feminist dystopia. The girls are living with their father and mother, the father of whom dies very quickly into the book, who have kind of separated themselves from society because the outside world, stroke men, becomes dangerous for them, and the only way that they can survive is to isolate themselves and undertake these strange kind of rituals of self-harm, is kind of how I saw it. Through the book we kind of see that women used to come to them and stay with them, but now they are pretty much isolated, and the death of their father isolates them further. The father, whose name King is obviously very metaphorical, was the only person who left the island. He collected all the food but also brought them back information, so he was the only person in the family who knew what was going on outside of their little world, and it was a very controlled scenario. And with King gone, the mother kind of takes his place and she has this patriarchal role for them in shaping how they see the world. It's quite cultish, independent thought is kind of squashed, and again they're encouraged to do these nasty things, these kind of psychologically damaging things to entrench the belief that their family have. It's all set within this strange kind of hot, potentially abandoned hotel complex. That's what I had it in my head. Lots of rooms, they don't necessarily all go in, and a big swimming pool. And we're kind of unsure of how they've got there really, or how they've managed to get here without anyone knowing they're here. I didn't have the sense that they belonged there, they didn't own it, it was just somewhere that they kind of come to as the world kind of starts to fall apart. I think throughout the book it's very, very clear that the girls aren't shown an accurate picture of their world. You're kind of guessing whether or not men are dangerous, whether or not the world is dangerous, or whether or not this is all sort of self-inflicted. A lot of the games they play, a lot of these kind of self-injuring games reminded me of treatment they gave women for hysteria, especially the water cure, the kind of title one of these kind of drowning rituals. And I think that's probably intentional, of kind of curing women of their madness and somehow drawing the problem of the interaction between men and women here, making that the women's issue, while the men seem to be entertaining themselves as normal in the rest of the world, and women are kind of breaking down under their influence. There's also kind of quotes throughout the book from women from the outside, is how I would read them. So this one says, "We did our best to protect each other. It was necessarily imperfect, but we did try with all our hearts. Who else would try for us? Who else would lie down in the dirt if not our women? Our mothers and daughters and sisters. We were not too proud to get down there." So you do kind of learn a little bit about what these women who are coming into the commune are saying about the outside world, but it's very much obscured from the girls and therefore obscured from the reader. You're left to kind of pick up elements of it. For example, there's one scene where the women who are coming to the commune are asked to sit around and draw what the men have done to them, and some of them do these kind of awful drawings, but maybe they cover them up, or one woman I think just scribbles all over the paper and destroys them. And you know as a reader what kind of things men might have done, but it isn't necessarily explicit as to what has happened to these women and what their trauma is. I did enjoy the book. I enjoyed the process of reading it, but my main kind of criticism of it as a whole is not about the content, the execution, the characters, the plot. It's more about a question as to whether or not this story is necessary. It's not that I don't think that the telling of female stories or this kind of feminist dystopia is unnecessary, but it's whether or not what this book does adds something to that discussion, and I'm not sure that it does. And I think the reason for that is it's obvious that allegory and metaphor and setting this external to a world, making this a dystopia, highlights elements of conflict and also makes things more easily digestible. But my concern is with things like this, is I find that can distance. I find that can make this otherworldly, and I find that it can almost make it difficult to see the realities where they aren't so starkly highlighted in real life. And that's quite a hard thing to kind of ask of a book, because rather than me critiquing the book itself, I'm kind of thinking, is it needed? I don't know whether that's fair or not, but I think that's kind of what I thought having read it. I enjoyed reading it, but I'm not sure it added anything for me. Yeah, as I've said in previous videos, if you've read it and you've enjoyed it, or you have any sort of comments in response to anything I've said in this video, do let me know down below. I don't think that one will win, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was shortlisted. I think it's a well-written book, and I think it's very sort of in line with lots of things that are quite popular at the moment, especially with kind of like The Handmaid's Tale coming on TV shows and all of those kind of things, and I do think it's a good book. But yes, leave me your comments, thoughts, questions, insults, whatever down below, and I'll chat to you guys soon. Bye!